At the Table with Siheng Shawn.
All right, this is Seafood Charlie of the Warriors Den Fight Channel, and today we have a special guest with us that I'm going to interview. You may know him as Gisborne in my videos, but this is actually my son, Shawn. Shawn, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
Good. I'm glad you're doing this for me today. I appreciate that very much. Shawn has been with me for all of his life, but he's been in the martial arts now for 8 years.
Yeah. Almost a decade.
Okay. So the weird part is I have been doing martial arts way before you were born. And as a young child, you never wanted to do martial arts. All of a sudden, one day, you come up to me and say, Dad, teach me how to fight.
Yeah, that's because there was a time where I was too young. I was just too young to concentrate. I know many parents push their young kids to go train, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But over my own volition as a child, I just wanted to play with toys and hang out with friends. I couldn't focus enough to hit anything. So it was really challenging for me to concentrate, and it just wasn't working out. Now, later on, when I was 14, I really wanted to get into it. But, you got to understand that when you're 14, you're entering high school, and then, learning how to defend yourself or look tough gives more social status in high school. So obviously that's one motivator. A more healthy motivator would just be to master your own body, right? Well, that's probably the best reason anybody should ever learn martial arts.
All right. So you started martial arts with me. How'd you feel when you started training? How did it make you feel?
Where do we start?
The beginning is always good.
I got into it in high school a little bit.
Now, I want you to kick me. Come on, kick me. Okay, do it again. Do it again.
We trained for the better part of a year. I didn't train with anybody my size. I was training with mid-20-year-olds who were bodybuilding. So I was the pipsqueak of the group, just getting, I'm outweighed twice over. What I had over the bigger guys was speed, though. They were all very slow, and I was really quick, and they'd always point that out. But when we were doing it back then, compared to when I got back into it very seriously as an adult, when I was in my mid-20s, was a completely different experience, totally different thing. In fact, I barely even count the first time I really got into it. Yeah, it was a good stepping stone. It was good for basic coordination and understanding some fundamentals, but it's almost not even worth counting at all from when I started into it when I was 25, back in 2018. That's when I really was dead serious on this. I wanted to understand everything about it. I wanted to really master myself. So completely different. Apples and oranges here. When we got into it in 2018, I'm already 25. And our training back then was very intense, very different experience compared to when I was 14 years old.
What the hell was that, you little freckle-faced cartoon?
I feel like some of our students were really excitable. We were going 70% power for everything.
I kept telling you guys, bring it down.
Yeah, I went home with many concussions around that time. So if I forget any words, maybe that's why. The training in 2018, I appreciated the intensity. I didn't appreciate the concussions, but I appreciated the intensity because you leave your ego and any kind of disillusionment at the door. You're forced to, because either your blocks are working or they're not working. There's no, maybe this block's going to work. And no, if I got hit, it didn't work. that was the essential training mechanics of what we were doing. And of course, me and my brother were both starting over. We kind of started off on the Todai into the white belt program around that time. We were just drilling these moves over and over and over. And the moveset we do in Shui Yi Do is very step 1, step 2, step 3. But these step systems, they're not a real fight, but the mechanisms, the muscle memory that we were building upon it really gave me a foundation that was very important and that I carry to this day. Although these movesets might feel unrealistic, it's like you're doing a dance, you're doing a kata in a way, not an actual kata, but do this move, make sure your punch is correct, make sure your block is correct. You're kind of playing a rehearsal. Even though we're telling the opponent like how to hit or where to hit, it's still a real hit. So it may be a form of rehearsal, but there are consequences to these type of training. And because the muscle memory that we're instilling with these move sets, you'll end up applying these blocks and these punches in a more freestyle, less rehearsed situation without even thinking about it. In a way, think of the Karate Kid when he has the kid do the wax on, wax off on the paint.
Wax off. There
and
you
then
go.
Wax on, right hand. Wax off, left hand. Wax on, wax off.
and then after he was done, all of a sudden he was doing it based on muscle memory and didn't even know how he was doing it.
Show me wax on, wax off. Yes! 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 Yes!
So when you're learning the moves, what's going through your head?
I assume the same as everybody else. I just want to get it right. I'm trying to think back. There may have been a degree of nervousness, because you don't want to get hit, but over time that goes away. I don't really care anymore. If someone throws a punch at me, like I'm going to block it or I'm going to take the hit and keep going, because over time, what was happening with me and what happens to, I think, everybody is you're doing the mechanics of your move and you mess up. And when you mess up, you stop and you're like, oh man, I ruined it. And then you were getting frustrated because you're like, why'd you stop? You wouldn't stop in a real fight if your block didn't work. And I think that kind of switched gears in my head in a very good way.
Right.
Because you're absolutely right. If I didn't get a block, oh well. And then once we started switching gears and training in this way, there were times where I may have even landed a block, but got hit anyway because I didn't block hard enough. And I pretty much was like, oh, who cares? And then I just attack the person and go right in, which was a very good way to rewire my brain into a more offensive mindset. So I learned to eat the punch. And look, even worst case scenario, I've never been knocked unconscious from a hit. But that's worst case scenario. And if I'm unconscious, fight's over, isn't it? I got nothing to worry about anyway because I'm unconscious.
Yeah.
So now obviously that doesn't mean go head first, block all the punch to my face. That just means don't let your fear inhibit your technique. Don't be so nervous that you lose your fight. Because if you look at a lot of, you can even find this on the internet. You find some trained fighters out there in street fights. They panic so much. All of a sudden you're like, this guy's a black belt in anything. You couldn't even tell because all the training goes out the window, which is why training under pressure, training under fear, and learning how to cope with it while maintaining a level of composure is the most important aspect, I would say.
Baptism under fire, right? I don't give moves to train you to fight. I give you moves to create muscle memory so that you can fight and fight better. Now, you've been in a lot of sparring matches with us and you're fighting these guys. What's going through your head?
Not much. And I don't mean that in a way like, I just don't think about anything at all.
Mind the sword, mind the people watch, mind the enemy. Too many mind. Don't mind.
What I mean is I've trained for so many years. In the beginning, I'm like, oh man, there's all these kinds of different ways I could punch. I could do a hook, I could do a jab, I can do a cross, I could do an overhead. I could do a roundhouse kick, I could do a push kick, I could do a teep, I could do a sweep. I could trap his arms. I could, there's a million things you could do in every situation. But will the opponent be where you want him to be when you want him to be there? And the answer is always never. They're never going to be there. So there's no point in thinking about all kinds of moves that you can do or may be able to get, maybe if he throws a punch, I'm going to grab it and twist his arm around and knock him to the floor. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen or how it's going to play out. So when I say I'm not thinking, I don't mean, all my training's gone. I mean, I have muscle memory on certain situations. I am looking at where my opponent is, but I don't necessarily have to know where I'm at. I know where I'm at. I know my surroundings.
Right.
What I really need to analyze is where they're at and what they're doing. One of the best ways to get around this too is to just be very aggressive. And I just mean that as in stopping their attacks and stopping their punches before they even get them off the ground. A very easy way to get around the whole thinking process is, if I just kick his leg in or get ready to get my arms up and maybe palm stop his arm, I don't even have to worry about the next thing he's doing. And yeah, there's a little degree of thinking there, but it's very, very minimal. And even then, perhaps he attacks me before I even get the opportunity to do these things. then I'm just going to react. It's all based on reaction. Reaction's faster than sitting there and overanalyzing.
Now, you're in the ring, you're fighting these guys. When you're reacting, are you always surprised that you did something you did, or are you aware of what you're doing and it just comes natural?
It's more that I'm pretty aware of what I'm doing, and that nothing should really come to a surprise. You know, one of the last sparring sessions I had, I was put up against the ropes, and the first thing I did was throw my knee up and jam their torso from coming in and doing close range elbows or grappling. And this doesn't happen often. It's not like I rehearsed this move. It just came naturally. Now, are there sometimes I might goof a little bit playing around and be like, oh, that works? Maybe. I'm pretty aware of what I'm doing and how I'm doing it.
Okay. So you've gone through a lot of the steps of brown belt and Shui Yi Do, and you go through the preliminaries of white, yellow, orange, which is pretty much basically training you how to use your hands, how to move your body, what targets to hit. Then you venture into blue and purple. You're now trapping. You're now in closer range. You go into green. You're ground fighting. You're manipulating the body in different ways, but you're applying everything that you've done before. Okay, it's not a matter of that you're just doing this or you're just doing that. It's now combining. And now that you're into brown, you have all these ranks that you've gone through, and you're actually putting it all together as you fight. More on that.
When it comes to the progression system of the martial art, I'll always say the first few ranks, just learning the mechanisms, learning how to punch, how to kick, how to block, are they're pretty straightforward, but they're also the most important. They're the ones used the most when you're actually in a sparring match, and I would even argue in a real fight, because real fights shouldn't even be lasting that long anyway. Now, when it comes to the more, what I consider to be the more fun parts, the trapping, the ground fighting, the lockups, you know, the takedowns, all these kind of things, they're definitely more fun for me because they're more technical. But in a real situation, they are going to be harder by nature to execute in the flow of the moment. But that doesn't stop us from applying it. There's always a time and a place when you can apply these things. But again, you do not want to overthink about this stuff. So what could end up happening is I could learn 20 different submissions, 20 different takedowns, and 20 different ways to lock up people's arms. But when it comes to the practice and sparring, I may only end up picking 4 of these to build a habit upon. And that's what you need to do to be able to execute these things without thinking about it. You got to build the muscle memory. And it just so happens that this martial art offers so much that we sometimes don't have to use all of it. I wouldn't even say sometimes. I would say almost every time, depending on how far people get into it. So,
okay, so here you are. You're all built up. You've gone through all the mechanics. So why have you not taken the plunge? What happened? Why did you not go into competition?
I am not a very competitive person in nature. I didn't really do sports, didn't care about beating the other team and any of this stuff. Even when I play video games and stuff, I'm not really, trying to just beat the other guy and show him how good I am. I just don't seem to have that competitive bone in my body. However, I did give it some thought before. I thought, well, what if I were to just do it just to see what would happen? Just to kind of, to not just a measurement of me, but a measurement of Shui Yi Do, I guess, in a way. But I just couldn't get myself to do it. You know, I'm kind of a nice guy. I thought, look, if I get in there, what if I win? Which means, what if I beat the crap out of some other guy? I know he signed up for it, but something about me just doesn't feel right about beating somebody up for some glory or money or whatever. And this is not to put on judgment on people that do that. It's just I didn't feel right doing it myself. And then worst case scenario, what if I go into it and then I get destroyed? I get injuries or something. And now I'm like, oh yeah, I got this injury for life because I just wanted to compete and see what was up. I kind of avoided the entire thing altogether. Is there a small part of me that wishes, oh man, but what if? Yeah, sure. In a fantasy way, it's like, well, what could have happened? And there's always that question. But it just wasn't enough to get me to actually go and do it.
Now, tell us about where you are right now.
Right now, I'm in the brown belt category.
Mhm.
I've been doing this for 8 years?
8 years, yeah.
8 years consistently. I'm comfortable where I'm at, if that makes sense. What I mean by that is I'm not complacent on progression. What I mean by that is I'm confident in myself. I'm comfortable on the point where I know enough to handle myself in a real situation. You know, unless the guy's 3 times my size, then I go, oh, maybe some techniques are going to be really difficult.
So wrist leverage is out.
yeah, exactly. Or he's going to pick me up and throw me out the building. But other than that, I don't have a confidence issue with this. I'm at the point where I'm pretty set on what I can do and what I can't do. I know my limitations, but there's always room to improve, right? We never stop. We never like hit the point where, oh, I finished it. It's over.
Right.
So always room for growth.
So another question would be, if you had opportunity to learn a different martial art, how do you feel about that?
Well, of course, it depends on the martial art. I'd be pretty confident as a student, not in an arrogant way to say I'd walk in and I know exactly what they're all doing and I better than them, nothing like that. But I am confident as a student. What I mean by that is I feel like I could walk in, adapt to what's being taught, and be able to acquire the knowledge I need. I know how to leave my ego at the door, and I know how to learn what's being presented before me. So if I were to pick a studio, another type of martial art I really want to get good at, it would probably be jujitsu. Now, we have jujitsu in the martial art, but to go to a pure jujitsu studio.
Yeah, it's not in depth.
Yeah. To master the skill, I think would be fun. Even if a lot of it may not even be perfectly practical in a real fight. And this is no knock on jujitsu. Like when I say this, I mean, if you're fighting 2 or 3 guys at once and you go to the ground against one guy, you're getting curb stomped by the other guys.
Yeah.
Dangerous situation for Riddle being on the apron. Oh my gosh, Riddle.
So I would just love to master the skill of ground fighting. If I had to pick one, if I had to pick multiple, I'd even be like judo, sambo. Again, things that we already do, but just to go really head first into the deep waters with these specialties.
Right. So periodically I bring guests in to broaden everybody's horizon, right? They're from different styles. And I brought this one gentleman in. He was a black belt in Taekwondo, and he had a black belt in
combat hapkido.
They don't just come in to help us, but they're learning too. And I remember him seeing stuff that we were doing. He's going, what is that? Show me that. And we were kind of sharing information back and forth. That is the best. You know, you get fighters that just want to come in and try to beat you up and not share nothing. Whereas you get guys coming in and go, hey, this is what I know. You know something different than me. Let's swap information. That is the best. That's what makes a good martial artist, when you could do that. The guy is so nice guy, willing to help, willing to teach. You fought him.
Yes.
You fought him.
Yes. In a sparring match.
In a sparring match. Okay. So how was that?
It was a lot of fun. Something I always wish that happened more is that we would get people from other martial arts to come in here. Unfortunately, people find their favorite martial art and they just stay in that building and that's all they ever do. But every now and then we get somebody who's pretty specialized in different martial arts and actually will come into our dojo. I had a lot of fun sparring him. And the reason why I have fun sparring him is probably for the same mindset of like, what would happen if I competed? It's not like a who would win type situation when it comes to sparring, but it's how do you fare against people of other specialties, and what can you learn from it? That's actually the biggest one right there. What can you learn from it? Because I knew he was a black belt in Taekwondo, I knew that once we were at a distance, I got to watch out for those legs. It just comes with the territory. Watch out for the legs. The other people in our class weren't watching out for the legs, and he was kicking the crap out of them, and I'm just sitting there going, come on.
Yeah, and he could kick.
Yes.
He put that foot up next to your face. He wouldn't kick you, but he put that foot up there just to let you know that he got you.
Sparring him was a lot of fun because it showed me the applicability of trapping, more specifically the kind of knowledge we give in our blue belt program. For example, I knew to shut the legs down, block the legs and jump in. So I don't got to worry about it no more. After that, what I did not know this, is that Hapkido, combat Hapkido, is very trap oriented. I didn't know that prior to this sparring session. So as we got in, now granted, I believe we had MMA gloves on. So we had the thicker gloves, and it's kind of hard to grab. Of course, easier than a boxing glove, but still, the leather and everything gets in the way, and you have a hard time grabbing anything. We ended up trapping the crap out of each other. We ended up, and I didn't know this was not rehearsed. We just jumped in. Nobody's ever trapped me because I was farther along than all of our other students generally. And a lot of the students had a hard time getting up to the degree of learning how to trap. So I wasn't used to this. I wasn't used to at least combating against it. So what I really enjoyed about that sparring session is we ended up trapping. I couldn't even tell you where point A, B, C, D happened because trapping is so quick and it's based off of feel. If you're trapping correctly, you don't need your eyes even open. You're feeling everything. So I couldn't articulate what exactly happened. We were rolling over each other. We're throwing our arms around, but we completely locked each other up. Unfortunately, one of the biggest reasons we locked up was because of the gloves. The gloves made our hands so big. We got tied up. And the funny part is when we got tied up, my mind went blank for a second. We got tied up and I was like, what do we do now? So what he did was we got locked. It's almost like his mind did the same thing. We got locked up and we're like, what's going on? But then he thought of something first, which is always the best thing to do when you're sparring or fighting somebody is you know what to do before the opponent does. And he judo tossed me. And as it happened, I was like, why didn't I think of that? It was so simple, but it was a good learning lesson. As he judo tossed me, I grabbed the cuff of his neck in midair, and we both went down. At least I was able to catch him. Otherwise, I'm just in a bad spot.
Right.
And then once we hit the ground and stopped it because it could have turned into a mess. But it was a lot of fun, and there was a lot to have been learned in that. I'm always excited when somebody from a different specialty of martial art walks in with the intent to, not with their ego, but with the intent of like, let's go at it and see what we can learn from this. It's always a good experience.